The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode.
It's the summer of 93 at 30.
All right, welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show and our, the last trio of episodes here for the summer of 93 and 30, which has been a weekend by weekend look at the movies released during the summer of 1993. As always with me, first up from The Wrap, Scott Mendelson.
Hello.
And
it's like the journey never ends.
It doesn't. For you.
It goes on and on and on and on.
Pause. And now we get to introduce Aaron Neuwirth from We Live Entertainment, where he's a senior editor, a writer of WhySoBlue.com. He's written for Variety. He also hosts Out Now with Aaron and Abraham. It's Aaron Neuwirth, of course. Yes.
Whoop, there I is.
Yeah. Not woot. Whoop.
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it? Today we're discussing 4 films released the weekend of August 20 through the 22nd, 1993. That's 3 films released this weekend. 1 film that released a different weekend, but we have readjusted, as we have talked many times, and it fits in here. This is a week. When we started this, I was like, when we were going through weekend by weekend, this one was just like, that looks like the most fun week of all.
It's every film is more different than the previous. Regardless of quality that we'll get to.
There's one that's going to stick out really bad, but come on, it was a curiosity to go like, I remember that thing.
I'm curious which one you're referring to, honestly, but we'll get there.
Yeah. So, but before we get into these 4 films, let's get into the news.
When I wake up, don't you know I'm gonna be the man who brings the news to you.
A beefed-up Batman, a meaner, leaner Catwoman are some of the marketing ploys debuting at the San Diego Comic Convention, which opens to the public tomorrow. Superheroes have leaped from the pages of comic books onto T-shirts and trading cards.
Look at her.
An emerald green She-Hulk is the rage among 6 to 18-year-old boys.
And on this day, this week, August 16th, the Debian distribution first announced Ian Murdoch, a student at Purdue University. Yay! Murdoch initially called his system the Debian Linux release, or whatever.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, big time. 2 days later, on August 18th, historical Capelberg in Luzern, Switzerland, destroyed by fire.
Mm-hmm.
Not good.
Darn.
That's not
Did you
good.
say that with like a wink? Like a fire did it?
A fire.
It was like an actual fire.
I think it was an actual fire, yeah.
Okay, well, that's less fun.
That history has reported it as an actual fire.
Okay.
Okay.
Fire claimed many lives. Oh.
Right. So we have a big August 19th here because there's a lot of and it's all like a lot of sports stuff, I guess. Okay. Oh, and one. Ooh, here we go. Buckle in. So, August 19th, starting up the 34th Walker Cup, the U.S. wins 19-5.
Okay.
USA.
Wait, what sport was this?
The Walker Cup.
What is the Walker Cup?
This isn't Jeopardy, but the Walker Cup, I've heard of it before.
If you don't know, just
It
tell
is
me.
a golf
Google
trophy.
it.
It is a golf trophy contested in odd number of years by leading male amateur golfers in 2 teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does one score 19-2 in a golf
The
competition?
United States, Great Britain, and Ireland. It's teams. Maybe that many.
I will look this up after the show because I'm curious.
Maybe they just win the day, like win the rounds.
Seize the day. Yeah. Maybe, 19 rounds to 5. You think they would have called it then, but all right. Okay. Also, sports-wise, on August 19th, Sally Gunnell runs a women's world record 400-meter hurdles in 52.74 seconds.
That's fast. As one that did hurdles, that is not slow.
It is not slow. Also, so this happens the next day, but it's sports, so I'm going to toss it up here. Colin Jackson, he runs a world record 110-meter hurdles in 12.91 seconds. So here we go.
That's fast.
Yeah. So, and also on August 19th, the 26th San Diego Comic-Con International opens at the Doubletree Hotel. Paul H. Was talking about such films as Fortress with Christopher Lambert. I don't know. Lambert was on site. They got an early screening. We're like, this is gonna be huge. So
yeah, the Doubletree Hotel, like 93. Yeah, the venue has wildly changed since then, given that it's the convention center now.
That sounds like a true old convention being in like a hall with boxes of comics and guys sitting there like
that's an old convention versus what it becomes.
All right,
it was so long ago they actually talked about comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had our here in Indianapolis. We had it's called the Indiana Comics Convention, because everybody used to call it Comic Con, and that is a trademark thing, and they went to town on people all over. But this year I saw someone do an Instagram story like, "Hey, I'm just here day 2 to see all the comic book creators here at Indiana Comics Convention." Just kidding, there are none here. And then it's like, no, literally, they have no guests that are comic book creators. I was like, oh shit. So yeah, there you go. Here's some scary shit news. August 19th, George Tiller, abortion doctor, was shot in his arms by Rochelle Shannon.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That was 30 years ago. Jesus.
Yeah. That's something you would think you'd hear about today, even. That's how sad, not forward we have come here with that. Because what did that prove? What did that
smash
prove?
that subscribe button?
I gotta ask, what did that prove? That
they could get away with it.
I guess. Jesus. Big
sorry.
On that same day he was shot, there was a big merger between Mattel and Fisher Price. They came together.
God.
I'm assuming those events are connected somehow.
That's that's the plot of Barbie that we discovered recently. We all know this by now because it came out weeks ago at this point.
Right. Yeah.
That's why it was under wraps for so long, though. It was all about Barbie and Ken driving across country to make sure they secured that merger.
Yep, that's what happened.
It's weird how much it synced up with the series finale of Succession with the Gojo deal. Let me tell you. Pop culture references.
Oh. And that end of Succession. Whoo!
I know when Greg
Is Barry the killer?
When Greg got into Brian Cox's body and puppeted him around like a living zombie, and then he ripped off the head and revealed, "Hey, it's just me, Greg, guys." That was pretty nuts.
That was good, but like after the credits, when Brian Cox woke up in the padded cell and it was Hannibal Lecter's dream the whole time.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They hinted at it when they started playing "Strong as I Am" in the credits for the show instead of Nicholas Bertel's score. I was like,
that's true.
Somewhere.
That was the best episode of Arliss ever.
Yes. So on the same day that guy did the hurdle record, Howard Stern was fired from WLUP AM in Chicago. So looks like we never heard from him again.
Did he ever get back on his feet?
I don't think so. I don't think
that's in Private Parts 2. They're gonna
okay.
What if he did Private Parts 2 and they de-aged him?
Oh, geez.
Him and Robin and Fred.
Jesus.
You say this, but it's like Private Parts is a fun movie. They'd watch another Private Parts.
Giamatti's like, I got nothing better to do right now. I'll take it's fine.
all about this.
This was a couple years earlier. It'd be like, we saw Fisher King. You're fired. We're gonna have this shit happen. And because Howard Stern was fired on that same day, the Oslo Peace Accords were signed after secret negotiations in Norway, followed by a public ceremony in Washington, D.C. the following month.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if those two events are entirely connected.
Well, that's why I was so surprised when Barbie brought that in at the end credit scene.
Yeah.
That is true.
But because they were so busy with that, people got distracted. And on the next day, August 21st, NASA lost contact with the Mars Observer.
Oh, yeah, that did happen. Yeah, that's...
It's all connected.
They're all looking at the TV like, oh, look, Oslo. Where'd it go?
Smash that subscribe button, people.
Don't lose the number. What'd you do? You're looking at TV. You lost the number.
YouTube's getting great Neuwirth right now. I'll tell you that. Oh,
that's
gosh.
how spaceships work.
Someone put the Oslo Accords on for we recorded over it. We recorded over. Rewind it. What is this? Why are they signing a paper? Where is Mars? Where is
Oh, now you turn into SAP. It's only in Spanish. I can't understand it.
Okay. We'll move on from this to our deaths of the week.
No, we don't have 5 more minutes of this to go.
Everybody, take it down. Take it down. We're going to move on to our deaths. Irene Sharaf, a costume designer, and Fang Kong, a mathematician. Johnny Sayles, the soul singer. Sidney Arnold, the actor. Kashdi Merba, Prime Minister of Algeria, was assassinated.
Oh, jeez.
I hope that didn't have to do with the Oslo Peace Accords.
Quite the battle.
Yeah. So then,
or the plot of Barbie.
One birthday, golfer Cameron Smith.
Okay. All right.
Born on the same
Mazel.
day and on the same week as the what was it called? The Walker Cup happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was destiny.
It was destiny for him
Hell
to
is a Walker
play
Cup?
golf eventually.
Just so happened. You know what?
You're right. It's a golf trophy. I don't understand the scoring system.
It's like I was born. He was born the week of the Walker Cup in 1993. It was destiny that he would become a golfer. So, all right. Anyways, out of the news, and we will be talking about the movie King of the Hill that came first. That's our first film this week.
Hello, Billy. Hello, Aaron. How are you? I'm fine. What did you have for lunch today? I had filet of sole.
I told you 1,000 times, you only take food from the fat kids, and you never take a kid's dessert.
When are you gonna teach me marbles?
I keep telling you, all the important stuff can't be taught, okay? You just have to learn.
Sullivan will be going away for a while.
I don't wanna go.
Don't worry, okay? I'm gonna earn some money and get you back.
How?
Well, I'm not sure yet. I know Lester will have some ideas.
What the hell are you doing?
The car, eh? How do you like the car?
It's colossal. Stupendous. Whose is it?
What do you mean, whose is it? It's mine.
How'd you get it?
Well, you know.
You better watch yourself.
For Aaron Kurlander, the Great Depression was a time of great discovery.
What do you think? Looks wonderful.
You want a job?
What do I get?
Why don't you put something on?
Get on my good side.
I have something on.
Got an idea. Might be a little risky. You up for it?
We'll shoot partners, us against you. I'll put up 5 and Bill, you'll put up 5 against your 10.
When the world turns upside down,
I was just wondering if you'd like to dance.
the trick is coming out on top. King of the Hill.
Was a smaller release. I believe it came out a few weeks earlier, but we have bumped it here. Directed by Steven Soderbergh, written by Steven Soderbergh and A. Hochner, starring Jesse Bradford, Jerron Crabb, Lisa Eichhorn, Karen Allen, Spalding Gray, Elizabeth McGovern, Adrian Brody, Amber Benson, Katherine Heigl is back 2 weeks in a row, and Lauryn Hill of the Fugees.
Summer continues.
Yeah, a young boy struggles on his own in a rundown hotel after his parents and younger brother are separated from him in 1930s Depression-era Midwest. This is the third film from Steven Soderbergh, but the second he wrote and directed. The first was Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
And the second was Off Cut.
Yeah, that's Lem Dobbs wrote that one. But
What do you need to pause for?
You just and Videotape just got me for no reason. It just got me.
All right. Oh, sometimes they hit. All right. Okay. So Aaron, we'll start with you for King of the Hill. Had you seen this one before? I have the Criterion one, but this isn't a Soderbergh I go back to a lot. But
I have the Criterion as well. It's sitting down by my leg currently. I'm a huge Soderbergh fan. Anyone that listens out now knows that. Soderbergh is one of my guys when it comes to directors. His early period, yes, it's a little less filled with like bangers. After Sex Lies, which is a terrific debut. Kafka, you can't like even really see right now. This one, and like what's it? Underneath, it's Schizopolis. Like
Underneath is a bonus feature on this disc. Like that's how highly it has its own release now, like a couple kinos, but like it was a bonus feature on this to begin with.
But like these are all like movies that like after Sex Lies, he just was not finding his groove. Like they were all bombing and like getting mixed reviews from critics. Like even Out of Sight, which was like a shift for him as a director, even that wasn't a hit movie at all by any means. Like so King of the Hill. It's neat to see him playing. Like he's certainly like he's such an experimental director, especially but like his whole career is full of experimental ideas. But like King of the Hill is so much more like formalist than like most of his other. Like I can't think of anything that's more traditionally made than this one. Maybe Aaron Brockovich by default, just because that's like a biopic. Like, but this movie, like it's a coming of age period drama, much like we just talked about like last week with that movie whose title I definitely can't remember but refuse to say. So it's regardless, this movie, like I like it. It's not one where I'm like, let me put on a Soderbergh right now. Oh, King of the Hill, that's the one I'm reaching for. But I certainly like the film. It's well made, it's well acted. It really does a good job of emphasizing the young cast in a way where not necessarily that's always the case. Like you could generally get like a couple veteran actors and like let them, really nail like some big moments and have the young actors, make it up or what have you. But like you have people like Jerome Crabb in here who's very good, but he's not much of a presence by choice, or by decision in the writing. And said you have to rely on Jesse Bradford and some of these other like, younger characters. And I think they're quite effective. For being a Depression era movie and being made on a budget, it looks good as I'd expect from a Soderbergh film, but again, it's not doing much to stray outside the lines when it comes to this kind of story. So it's like I certainly like the movie, but it's not like it's trying to work overtime to really endear me to the direction of it or what have you. It's just like a solid movie, much like that Juliette Lewis movie that once again I can definitely tell you the title, but I'm refusing to.
I think The Night Of.
It's not The Night Of.
No, it's not The Night Of. No,
that's the miniseries. Shit.
Yeah, that one's That Night, but this one is
That Night. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought you were just messing around, but it is That Night. Yeah.
No, you were believing that story that I refuse to tell you the name of it. Yes, yeah. Oh, and Adrian Brody's in this, and he's pulling off like good-looking teen vibe. That's what he's going for here.
This is the Liberty Heights era. Well, he's
Liberty Heights era Brody. Yeah.
He was
even
so
then,
cool.
that movie's still 99. Like
he's got 6 more years. Yeah.
But he's going for like the what's the magazine, like Teen Beat or whatever, like that's the look he seems to
Tiger
have.
Beat.
Tiger
Tiger
Beat,
Beat,
thank
yep.
you. Yeah,
Obviously.
but regardless, I like the movie. It's not one that I reach for all the time, and I think it's still a good movie.
Yeah. Scott?
I remember I saw this right whenever it came out on video or HBO or whatever, so it's been a while. But I remember being impressed even as a kid about how it delicately balanced being a story about a young, starving, basically homeless child in the Depression that didn't really skew being overly coy or sentimental or being aggressively melodramatic and sad. I mean, the film is very aware of the horrors of the Great Depression. I mean, there's a scene where the kid is so hungry he eats pieces of paper for nourishment.
It's magazine cutouts of food.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's funny you guys talk about how it's more formalist, because even when the film came out, he was coming off of Sex Lies and Videotape. He was coming off of Kafka. I was like, this is a more normal movie than I'd expect from this guy. But it got rave reviews. It was reading reviews of this film as a kid was the first time I had heard about Soderbergh. I mean, I kind of vaguely heard of Sex Lies and Videotape because it was a big news story, but it was like, oh, that guy.
And wasn't like a big, like the response.
It really didn't.
Yeah.
Even there, the reviews weren't particularly good. And you're right, it really isn't until The Limey that I think he sort of gets a second wind. Again, I know Side's terrific, but it's even back 25 years ago, why aren't people going to see the kind of films they say they want in theaters, blah blah blah. And that was certainly an example of that.
Like The Limey's like a smaller movie, so it could afford to not make a lot of money.
Yes, exactly.
But then Traffic and Aaron Brockovich is a huge
massive
hit.
Smash. Yes, they're
both nominated, and they're both Best Picture nominees. So
yeah. And then he basically makes Ocean's 11, which makes like 400 million worldwide or something. It's like, oh, he's a bakeable director now.
Best
what
director
the hell is this?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, is Brockovich a picture also, or is it just director? I think it's just
no.
Director.
He had double duty.
Yes.
He's due for director, but not for Traffic was only for picture.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
Gladiator wins. Gladiator wins Best Picture.
But it's
Soderbergh.
Gladiator, Traffic. He wins Best Director for Traffic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of the nominee. It's Traffic, Gladiator, Crouching Tiger,
Tigerhead,
Chocolat, of course.
Water. Yeah, chocolate. Yeah. That's 5, I think.
That's 4. What's the 5th one? I don't think it's Brockovich, right? It's got to be something else.
I think it is Brockovich.
Is it Brockovich?
I'll check.
This is important, listeners.
Yeah, it was nominated for Best Picture that year.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I remember thinking it was so weird that year that he didn't split the vote, because you think he's gonna split his own vote and like Ang Lee is gonna win or
Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott. Yeah, Gladiator was going through, but
shockingly, it's like there were enough Steven Soderbergh fans that really, really like Traffic.
They all like Traffic.
Didn't care much about Aaron Brockovich.
And also, his Best Director speech is one of the best Oscar speeches. Just throwing that out there. It's a really good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, King of the Hill.
Speaking of the King of the Hill, no. And so I mean, I think Aaron pretty much covered it. It is a thoughtful and nuanced coming of age story that doesn't rely on a bunch of prestigious adult character actors to sort of keep the kids afloat. And again, it's going back through this summer, I'm reminded that, Haley Joel Osment did not invent the good kid performance, at least in the modern age. There was a feeling, and yes, he was terrific. I think he should have won the Oscar that year, but there were other films coming out before where you had really strong leading work from, kid actors. Even something like, Free Willy, to use a more commercial example.
Last week, Bobby Fischer. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get to swim fan without King of the Hill.
So. Exactly. That's what they all say.
But yeah, it's interesting, as acclaimed as this picture was when it first came out. And again, it got rave reviews. You're right. It sort of feels like by default, I don't want to say lesser Soderbergh because it's a very good movie, but it's like, it's like his Cape Fear. And that it's so mainstream compared to everything else that he did that it almost risks being quote unquote underrated. That it says something about his batting average, especially as he goes along, that a film as good as this is considered one of his B efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this is the one that I think you can tell, like, when I'm watching it, like, granted, we have, the first two and whatever comes after, but this is where you can tell he's more talented than most people because he's got money this time around to make this picture, and he's trying to make this standard picture, but he can't just do that. Like, this is for him, like, standard, but there's all these, like, interesting angles and camera pan. Like, it looks very interesting compared to how anybody else would have done. I'm looking at it looking like, oh, this looks lovely. It looks polished, but it plays it looks polished and stuff, like a lot of people could have made this, but the way the camera moves and is set is more interesting and tells a lot different and better story. So therefore I know there's like somebody talented back here, not just, the studio guy that can just make this traditional coming of age story. It's now looks more interesting and gives you a feeling, and you can read a lot more into this just by choices made with it. And Soderbergh, which I was surprised to find when I watched, I popped on his interview on this disc to find he's not a big fan of this film, and he feels like he did it wrong. He feels it should have been much more rough, should have been more like grounded and gritty with everything, like street level. Yeah, he feels like he made too much of a charm look to the Depression, that nowadays he would have gone and done that, but I think here, even
that beat in the middle act where they take a boat and sail to an island and bring back a giant gorilla just doesn't clash with the rest. It's really clashes.
No. But if I was to like describe some of this movie,
that's why Adrian Brody went back.
Right.
Oh Jesus, I didn't even think about that.
Oh, it's good. So this movie feels like it takes place in the world of a Coen Brothers movie, but with a different vibe.
I was gonna say, like, you mentioned how it still looks really good. It's like saying, like, Coen Brothers are obviously even more idiosyncratic than Soderbergh is, but like still you can feel like a Hudsucker proxy where
if you drive down the street to the next city over, like Miller's Crossing is happening. Like that's what it feels like. It
which explains the twist ending where the kid witnesses a murder and gets killed.
Yeah. To be continued in Miller's Crossing. Like Jesse Bradford, going back, like I've never thought about him, but like he gives a great child performance here in this movie, like because he's got to carry it. Amber Benson's really interesting to find here because I think I first came into like seeing her was like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and that was neat to see her here. Karen Allen is obviously like we want to get somebody with a name in here but don't have the money, but we can use her for the smaller part.
Well, Spalding Gray, of course.
Oh yes, right.
Hollywood heartthrob Spalding Gray.
right. Oh, and Crab, he's back-to-back weeks too, isn't he?
Yes.
Crazy.
Year.
Go to this summer. Go to the beach, catch yourself some crabs. Something like that.
Kafka also, like, so he's a Soderbergh guy,
right? So this movie also made me appreciate air conditioning because everybody looks so like hot,
sweaty movie
with no chance of escaping it. Like it is a sweaty movie, but it's the script is kind of straightforward. I do think, man, the separating of the brother at the beginning was just heartbreaking. Like it really, that's really effective stuff right there for a character we barely get to.
Yeah,
we've just met the family. We've had the brothers for like a couple scenes, and the separate, like the way that not Jesse Bradford, the kid playing his brother plays it, just rips you out too. But no, this is a fun little movie. I think a lot of people probably haven't checked it. It's hard to find. I guess you have to own the Criterion to watch it legally at this time.
On the channel?
Huh? Nope. It is not on. I checked when Scott was talking about having trouble finding it. It is nowhere available except for the Criterion Blu-ray, which is not out of print. You can still buy it at a good cost because you're getting two movies for the price of one, because Steven Soderbergh's The Underneath is on there. And if that's not all, there's an interview with him about that movie specifically on there as well. So you get it all. But I
wish you had told me that before my robbery homicide.
Life on the streets. Yeah. But no, this movie, like I said, Most interesting thing to me was the craft of it when I was coming into this time around, because knowing the story and stuff, how it goes and plays drama well, just looking at how he films this little world. And I disagree with Steven Soderbergh. I think he did a fine job on this movie. I think this really shows where he set the pack, but he also noted something good about this. Like, he's like, I came in hot, but like, it took me a while to get going. I was privileged with time and failures that most directors today don't get.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I wouldn't have become who I am now because you need to hit on your first 2 films right away or something like that. And he didn't for a while. Like, he's like, this one didn't do, this didn't go well. He's like, I had to like find myself. We don't give people time to find themselves anymore. And I've heard that also said about the music industry. Like, we wouldn't have like Pink Floyd if it was like today's record industry. They'd have been dumped after like their first 2 albums. It took them many albums to find who they were.
Even like the Beastie Boys, like Paul's
Yeah.
Boutique was a masterpiece, but it was a flop compared to License to Ill, and then they
Right.
kind of collaborated. And
well, people didn't like Pinkerton from Weezer back in the day too, and that's their like second best album.
and now
Yeah.
they get all the Weezer they can handle. So you look stupid now, Brandon.
Yeah. Oh my god.
All the Weezer you can handle.
They also haven't been good since that one, but
Don't tell that to Matt
they
Damon.
have their fans. They have their fans. Yeah. True. But yeah, King of the Hill. Very good. Very good.
Most filmmakers would ennoble themselves by making a movie this good, but not
Is there
Soderbergh.
Is there a better scene of kids playing marbles than in this movie? Because I can't think of it.
Nope, that's probably it.
Maybe like an Our Gang skit or something.
Well, those Little Rascals shorts from back in the day. I don't know.
Good
yeah.
Cliff Martinez, by the way, too. Frequent collaborator of Soderbergh. Like, I think he's doing like Philip Glass type stuff in this movie, and it's like, this is fun for Cliff Martinez, who makes moodier music more often than not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You put this out today, it's probably like, oh, it's an Oscar picture, right?
Oh yeah, this would be, a A24 release, and it harkens back to the old times. And
yeah, because this is just put out. I don't think anybody made this with the intention of that. They just wanted to connect with an audience. Like, that's it. That's all this movie is made for.
Yeah, you read a book, and he's like, I'm putting this together.
You know what? People might like this. They might go see this. They might come up to the box office and be like, I read that book. It's good.
I'll make sure to get Spalding Gray in there to get the box office ducats, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As he said to himself.
Yeah. So, yeah, King of the Hill, good stuff. Years later, the animated television adaptation would come.
It's not too faithful, I've heard.
A lot of changes made. They moved it to Texas. It's one of the big changes. It's about oil, gas station or propane, right? Propane
and propane accessories.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, but that was on TV, which TV this week, guys.
From a true story, 3 women seduced by his charm.
He's wonderful.
Trapped by his lies.
I need $25,000 more. There's hardly any risk at all.
Taken for everything they had.
I am completely ruined.
You go to the police and you'll live to regret it.
But he never thought they would get even.
We have to work together.
Linda Gray, Heather Locklear, Tracy Nelson.
I'll be damned if he is going to take anything from me.
Their revenge was his worst nightmare. John Schneider is the Highway Heartbreaker. Next on the CBS Sunday Movie.
That's where we go.
The walk up to it.
Yep. All right. So we have number 1 this week, and this is what people are watching: 60 Minutes on CBS. Number 2, it's that. Get ready, Aaron. Home Improvement on ABC. We like Al. And then number 3, Dateline on NBC. Number 4, Primetime Live on ABC. Number 5, 2020 on ABC. Now,
all 3 of those shows had to have been covering the Oslo Accords like nonstop, though.
It was, and then they were stayed tuned for the Missing Rover that was killing everybody. Number 6 is Now.
One of the rover was missing, and it became like a chopping mall situation. So it's just like it's Red Planet is basically the movie I'm thinking.
Where do you think all the Martians went? Where do you think all the Martians went? And the astronauts with the rover?
I like Red Planet too, but now we should definitely make a version of Red Planet that's basically chopping mall but on Mars. Like that should be the movie.
Who's not going to pay for that? I need to see it. Sold. Number 6 now with Tom Brokaw and Katie Couric on NBC.
When's that air?
Huh?
When does that air?
Soon.
Now?
Hold it. Hold on.
No.
Wait.
Soon.
Wait. 1993. That's when it aired. So it's all over. Number 7, Seinfeld on NBC. And number 8, we have a tie all the way to 10th place. A 3-way tie.
Oh boy.
Or no, 4-way tie.
Oh,
It looks.
really?
Oh yeah, four-way tie.
God.
Or something. No, okay, it's a 4-way tie. So we go past 10.
Don't
Roseanne.
put emotions.
Roseanne on ABC. Just as many people were interested in Unsolved Mysteries on NBC. They were also interested in a TV movie from 1992 that was rerunning called Highway Heartbreaker.
Okay.
Which is about a slick, immoral con man Mickey is out to fleece attractive women, but 3 of them join forces to bring him to justice. And it stars John Schneider, Dukes of Hazzard, Smallville, Linda Gray, Heather Locklear, Dee Dee Pfeiffer, and Tracy Nelson. So that's and it was directed by Paul Schneider. I wonder if he was related to John.
Later remade as a cinematic classic, John Tucker Must Die.
It had Brock Peters.
Brock Peters. Okay, so this guy,
This surprised Unsolved Mysteries hasn't popped up in our rankings more often.
It has.
We solved a lot of mysteries in the spring.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's popped up here and then.
We don't need your help anymore. We've solved all the mysteries.
So CBS,
including the UFOs
and the Mars rover. So on CBS as well, there was
if you've seen the Mars rover, call Unsolved Mysteries at 1819, whatever the fuck the number is. Hold on.
There's a mini series that tied up in here, one of the episodes of it. Ned Blessing, The Story of My Life and Times, and this is from 93, so this is brand new airing. The intriguing tale of where the good guy isn't always good begins in the Spartan cell of a small town. Old Ned Blessing, having lived a long and tumultuous life, awaits a rendezvous with the hangman's noose. While waiting to pay for his doings and misdeeds, he is spending his last days writing an account of his exploits. This is a Western starring Brad Johnson, Luis Avalos, Brenda Baki, Rob Campbell, Richard Reel. He's in it.
Big Really Summer.
Bill McKinney. And Stephen Fry shows up for one of these.
So good.
Brad Leland. That's William Sanderson. He's in it too.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, that's this this was the number, tied up, the 4-way tie that everybody just couldn't get out of their recliners for.
I wonder if William Sanderson plays a nervous fellow that you can't quite trust.
All signs point to yes.
Yeah, possibly.
If you know the solution to that mystery, call 1-800-876-5353. You need not leave your name.
Jeez. At the end of every Unsolved Mysteries, there's Robert Stack. He's like, perhaps someone out there watching tonight have a clue to help lead and solve the investigation. Perhaps that someone is you. Boom, boom.
Solution to one of these mysteries. Perhaps that person is you. It was never me.
Someone went and saw this movie, this new Rob Schneider movie that came out this weekend in 1993. I don't know anybody, but perhaps
it also wasn't me.
It was you.
Was it you?
You? Surf Ninjas.
They're 3 California kids.
Hey, sir! Whoa!
who've just been given the power of the ninja.
It's your destiny.
Now, kill him, whether they like it or not. Wow. They're America's newest secret weapon.
There's dynamite here. We'll throw it at him. I got one.
Surf ninjas.
I love the part when I was like,
Rated PG.
sorry.
Starts Friday, August 20th at a theater near you.
Directed by Neil Israel, written by Dan Gordon, starring Ernie Reyes Jr. and Sr., Rob Schneider, Dickless Cowan, John Carlin, Philip Tan, Tone Loc.
Big Tone Summer.
Oh, that's also the weightlifting motto too. Keon Young and Kelly Hugh, two boys learn
And
from
Leslie Nielsen.
and Leslie Nielsen. Oh my gosh, they're all here. Two boys learn from a mysterious warrior that they are heirs to the throne of the Patusan and set out to overthrow the current monarchy. So, Rob Schneider and Pauly Shore, what a summer we have had. Both those guys. So, Israel, Neil Israel here, he wrote Police Academy, Bachelor Party, Real Genius, Look Who's Talking To. He wrote that. And director-wise, does lots of family or kids TV. Gordon, the writer, he was the director on this, and then Bob Shea fired him. But he wrote Gotcha. He wrote 36 episodes of Highway to Heaven and was the story editor for 78. Wrote 2 episodes of Highlander, but he gets a lifetime pass because he wrote Passenger 57. He wrote Wyatt Earp. He wrote The Hurricane. He had a story by credit on Rambo: Last Blood, and this year he wrote Big George Foreman. So this movie generates. Okay, so I looked. I don't know why I looked into this movie so much. There's a genesis of this movie from this short-lived television show in the 1980s called Sidekicks, not to be confused with the Chuck Norris, Jonathan Brandis masterpiece, available now on 4K Ultra HD from Vinegar Syndrome.
You need not leave your name.
You need not leave your name. Sidekick show of the 80s. Gordon wrote it, and Ernie Reyes Jr. starred in it as like a kid, and it featured this country of Patterson, the made-up one for this that was made up here for this movie. So there's a connection there. And then he was going to direct this movie and bring Ernie Reyes here. And then there was a casting disagreement with Bob Shea, and Bob Shea fired him. So that's what happened. So
he had a lot of faith in New Line, in Surf Ninjas for New Line. He was really
yeah. This comes in. So this is this odd time where like Ninja Turtles is a big hit. And this is the kind of shit we get after it. Like we get like this, we get like 3 ninjas. Do you remember those?
That's Disney. Yeah.
Rocky, Tum Tum, and whatever. And then this is
Colt
and
is the other one.
Colt, yeah. Yeah.
So they're like Surf Ninjas on Stupid Mountain or something.
That's 3 ninjas, High Noon, and Mega Mountain with Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan and Jim Varney as the villain.
That's the 4th one. Yeah, so like the ninja thing kicks off kids ninja movies, not like the 80s where we had like Franco Nero playing a ninja, and then we like had all these canon ninja movies. No, kids comedy ninja movies. And they're trying to make Ernie Reyes Jr. a thing after Ninja Turtles 2. They thought they had some star power in him. I will say, Rob Schneider is actually part Latino or part Filipino.
Filipino, yeah.
So yeah, so that's fine. But he's 30 in this playing a teenager. That's
I mean, the level of humor he's giving off really rings true.
Right. All right. So,
sadly, that happens a lot in YA, comedy dramas these days.
So Scott, why was this one of your
Google the age? Yes.
Why was this one of your favorite movies of the summer?
Well, isn't that a mystery? Speaking of mysteries, if you can solve why I love 3 ninjas, call 1-800-876-5353. You need not leave your name.
But I want to hear about Surf Ninjas.
Oh, it fucking sucks. It's the cinematic equivalent of a mysterious death. No, I had never actually seen this movie because even back then I had standards. and I admit I was curious to quote unquote revisit it. But it is just, it's not good. It's dull. It's, what's the term? It's shit. Amateurish. Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't get that one out. And as much as I give credit to a film starring a bunch of not a white guy leads in 1993, I wish it were better. And the kid, I mean, it's no secret I do not like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Secret of the Use, but he's pretty good.
Ernie Reyes Jr.
I mean, he does what he can with a a wish fulfillment fantasy kind of part.
And he was like promoted from turtle to like human, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
He was Donatello's stunt double in the first Turtles, and he became a live action character.
And the film, I mean, on one hand, I guess it would be interesting to cast Leslie Nielsen as a relatively straight, dramatic dictator, because he was an actor, a serious dramatic actor before the spoofs of the '80s. That was kind of the gimmick, that the Zuckers would cast intentionally cast bad actors from the old days and have them play it super straight in a slapstick environment.
Right. Before he was an airplane, he was in Beside Adventure.
Yeah, and who was an airplane? Robert Stack of Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes, he was.
Resolved. But the action is relatively indifferent. The movie, it's such a stereotypical what you think of when you think of a kid's film from this era, in that it feels like it's not, I don't want to say it's not trying, because obviously people are giving it their all, but there's a certain who gives a shit mentality, where the most important thing about this film is that kids will laugh at some of the slapstick jokes, and there's nothing objectionable in it that's going to make parents complain. And in retrospect, I'm not surprised that it flopped, because even in the summer of '93, if you're a kid going to the movies, you can see, in August of 1993, you can see Jurassic Park, you can see Rookie of the Year, you can see Hocus Pocus, you can see The Fugitive if you're a little bit older, you can see Free Willy. If you live in the right art house area, you can see Searching for Bobby Fischer. There is no need for any child in the summer of 1993 to be so desperate for family-friendly fare that they show up for Surf Ninjas. And to their credit, they didn't.
All right. Yeah. Aaron?
Well, I'm glad we finally found a kids movie that Scott hates more than Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. I mean,
yeah.
Fuck those dwarves.
So this is, I think...
Sorry, that's the porn version.
I think this is one of the few movies where my age actually does apply to why we differ on these. Now, that's not going to be me standing up and saying this is an amazing film and you guys are ridiculous. That's not what I'm saying.
I haven't told my opinion on this yet.
Fair enough. But I do I do give it.
Am I gonna be fucking outnumbered on Surf Ninjas?
I do.
I better not be fucking outnumbered on Surf Ninjas.
He's worried about being House of Cards to hear.
I do give it the credit for the things that you highlighted that I do think work about it. For one thing, I don't think it's dull. Like I've seen plenty of movies on this show alone that were dull to me. There's never, like, this movie's not long and it never bored me watching it. I'm not gonna say I grew up with this movie, but I've seen it several times when I was younger, and I haven't seen it in decades since. But watching it again, I'm not going to say it's necessarily good, but I do think there's something endearing about the fact that it is amateurish, honestly. I feel like it's so pushed back against the wall as far as having very little budget to work with, despite wanting to play at a somewhat large scale, as far as being a globe-trotting, kids' adventure film, that I kind of chuckle at the idea of them attempting to stage fight scenes that were, I believe, shot in like one take, and they had to move on because it doesn't have the means to do anything else.
They shot it in 5 weeks.
There you go. Trying to incorporate like surfing and the notion of ninjas into this movie, like the willingness of them to go for something. I like that more than other kids movies I see, because they don't feel as ambitious as something like this. Now, saying ambitious is a big statement, because yes, it's not good particularly, and the humor, even as a kid, I can't recall like specifically laughing at many of the jokes that are in this movie. There's other things I laughed at, because something like Tone Loc saying brothers don't surf is very funny to me. But, anything Rob Schneider's doing, not so much. And I don't know why he has red hair, but I guess that was cool.
Helps him look younger, probably.
I guess that's the best.
And if he talks like this, they could sound a little.
But there's things like a Game Gear that predicts the future, or any number of things involving the backstory about these chosen ones that Ernie Reyes Sr. reads off with so much sincerity that I don't know. It just has a certain kind of appeal that makes me not hate this movie. Add to that, yes, it is a film that's led by minorities. I mean, that's not nothing. And I do admire that. I do admire thinking about the idea that this movie came out at a time when that's not a regular thing. And it aims for anything, really. It has this weird backstory that it seems to want to cash in on in some degree to make something that's unique into itself. If you're bored by it. That's not going to help you. Like, if you think it's bull, then nothing else is really going to work for you. But like, I get enough out of it as far as, okay, I get where like an appeal for this would come from. It's not entirely successful at doing that, but I still think there's, compared to other kids' films that I had friends that certainly liked that I did not like, I could see what attracts me to something like this by comparison. Leslie Nielsen wasted. I could not. I remembered him being in this movie. I remembered him having like a half a face, but I couldn't remember like how much he was really in this movie. So watching it again, I'm like, oh, so he was on like for 2 days, and then that's it, right? Like, he just kind of has nothing to do here. But I will also speak up for Ernie Reyes Jr. because I do think he's a legit talented guy. I like seeing him when he pops up in things. He's been in scattered stuff here or there. He's in like Pool Hall Junkies for some reason. He's in The Rundown.
He had a reality show I watched in the it was about like a ninja. It was, I don't like reality TV, but I liked his ninja show. It was really cool.
Yeah, because I think he has the kind of charisma that I can understand why they wanted to start banking off him. It didn't pay off in a substantial way, but like, I get it. Like, I get where this guy's coming from, and I don't know. There's just something that's like goofily likable, despite not being in a very successful film, that I was still like happy to be like, okay, I get it. This isn't good, but like, I'm happier revisiting this than revisiting some of the other stuff that we've watched for this show.
Yeah, I was looking forward to like revisiting this one because it's such a wacky title or whatever, and I didn't really remember, but man, it blew. I could, if I remember like Three Ninjas. That was one I enjoyed. I don't know what the obsession was like, hey, kids doing karate stuff on adults and beating them up. Like, that was the thing that we apparently thought was cool, or they wanted us to think was cool. If I hadn't, so I used to have these parties back, before I had children, that were bad movie parties or whatever. And one time I showed Three Ninjas because I'm like, this is legit crazy, like that they put this together and stuff. So that one a little bit more firmly in the brain, but I could see myself mixing up stuff that happened in Surf Ninjas and Three Ninjas. They look like the aesthetic of them, the places they shoot, all just generic places that they could be either movie, and the characters feel similar. The humor's the same, like they're almost feel interchangeable.
You mentioned Turtles. Home Alone is the other big influence on this.
Yeah, series. Home Alone too. Yeah, there's the Home Alone influence. Yeah, yes, correct there. But like, this is just like, like Leslie Nielsen had my interest whenever he showed up, because I'm like, this is fucking crazy. Like, and Nielsen's really like, I think he really got excited by this role for some reason. Like, I'm gonna be like, I have a mask on, and so he's
to dress up and stuff. Like, he has to do things that is,
But the fighting's, like, I mean, they could, like, Reyes has moves and stuff, but they just don't film him.
Real isn't exactly bringing the heat.
Yeah, poor bastard never worked with like a great director to really showcase his talents. That's
the Rundown. He gets his stuff to do. Rundown he gets.
Physical, but that's way past time they were trying to make him a star, though. That's
sure, yeah.
It's almost 10 years later. So like right now in the moment,
10 years later.
Yeah, right now in the moment, he needs to be working with somebody better. Like, he'd probably have been better off at Canon Films. Like, but they were in the tank here at this point.
Probably too short for Ryu.
Right? Yeah.
The Street Fighter, the movie.
True. Or Liu Kang, in Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Rob Schneider sucks in here. And it's just weird. I'm like, how? Like, I was watching. I'm like, how the fuck old? What? Like, this is like he's either still on SNL or about to leave at this point. And I was like, he can't be like, he couldn't have joined SNL when he was like 18. Like, there's no. Oh, he's 30. 30. And I'm like, this is just bothered me. I don't know why I cared, but I was like, this is just. What did he feel like being on the set of Surfs and Ninjas? No wonder he like had drug and alcohol. Like, what am I doing here? Like,
yeah, I'm sorry that you
like,
feel bad for Rob Schneider.
well, I mean, we know he's what he's become, but
could
I'm
have
like,
saved him, Aaron. You
this
could have
is-
saved him.
this is that Marvel villain backstory where it's like, oh man, this is but yeah.
Why is
like-
it Tony Stark's fault?
Right. Right. Oh gosh. But yeah, so I was, as much as I was looking forward to this one, like 10 minutes in, I'm like, ah shit. I just it did nothing for me. And I wanted like, at least I wanted to be Aaron, like, well, you know, this, but it was just not working. I'll give him.
No, me too.
I'm impressed with 5 weeks to film an action movie like this. They got something like coherent and passably fine on a visual level put together. That's something, because I saw 5 weeks. I was like, oh shit, that's not enough time to do like a sequence almost like nowadays. But
I do think like it's not nearly on this level, but I do think there's a scrappiness to it that reminds me of like Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, as far as there's a, like you said, Scott, there's a kind of I don't give a shit kind of logic to it. Although I think the Bill and Ted films are smarter than, I think we know this now. But
Bogus Journey rocks.
They're smarter than they're given credit for as far as the logic that goes into them. But I do think when you see things like the evil us's in Bill and Ted, it's like that's clearly working with like the means they have to do something. And I think this film is operating on a similar level. It's like we can only do so much, so we'll make weapons, we'll use our Game Gear, we'll create something called Moto Surf, and just kind of acknowledge this kind of world we've developed for the lore of this film, despite not having like any money or any real sense of how to really accomplish that on a greater level. Again, it's not as good as those other movies that I can think of, but I do think there's a can-do spirit, I guess, that makes me give it more benefit of the doubt compared to a movie like Benefit of the Doubt. So it's
that's my bad movie to love this summer. Yes,
I backed myself into that by accident, and then it totally paid off.
Well, we mentioned
they can't all be the life of David Gale.
This was supposed to incorporate a Game Boy, but Sega came in and helped finance this movie, so it became a Game Gear, which Sega was very proponent. We mentioned with Cliffhanger, the game with Sega CD. So this is the Sega Summer, or we could go Summer.
Take that, Nintendo, who flopped this summer.
Summer. But yeah, so like,
remember, Sega does what Nintendo don't. What Nintendo don't.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I got that right.
And this game, this was an actual game on the Game Gear that wasn't like, was it like you couldn't play as Rob Schneider, right? Like it wasn't like.
No, you're not playing as Rob Schneider in the game.
Yeah. So
I had a Game Gear also, by the way.
I had a Game Gear as well. Like I thought it was the most underutilized. Like I don't understand why more kids didn't flock to Game Gears. They gave like color. It had like, I don't know.
Because it's bigger and it needs 6 batteries.
It did need a lot of batteries.
It's a weird device where Game Boy, I mean, if you've seen the Tetris biopic like I have, I mean, let me tell you, it really emphasizes why it's a killer AP. Like it does what it needs to. It's small. It has Tetris. That's all you need.
Very true.
If I recall, and I think part of it was that the Game Boy came out first, and everybody got a Game Boy, and there's only so many households that are like, okay, we'll give you another handheld video game system. And if I recall, Game Boy had really, really good black and white graphics versus Game Gear, which had color graphics. But I could be mistaken on that.
No, they were fine. I didn't see a problem with the color graphics.
I think that's the former idea as far as how many handheld devices can you have. The answer was 2. I had Game Boy. My mom had a Game Boy. I made her Game Boy. But still. By the way, this movie did poorly, yes. I'm not going to say it's entirely because of this, but also New Line like did nothing to promote it, like nothing at all. So it's like
they actually opened it like 2 weeks early in the middle of a random quote unquote flyover state to build word of mouth, which is really weird.
It was Evansville, Indiana, Scott.
That's where people surf.
Yes.
They did.
They're trying to get that son-in-law audience that they've been introduced to the surfer ways of Pauly Shore. They're like, oh, here's a movie for you guys.
They did two of them for what I was reading. They did one in Evansville, Indiana, and I did one somewhere in Texas or something like that.
Which, jokes aside, that's actually a neat idea.
That's what they should do, because they
like that in theory.
They try to do that. They try to do those test screenings and stuff in like Los Angeles by just like profiling people and inviting them to be like, oh, they look like Joe Midwest. Come on in here. Let's.
Yeah, I'm sure those cities in the Midwest are hot spots for Filipino audiences too.
The viewer is a white male between the age of 18 and 34 with a normal blue-collar job and high intelligence. I'm not going to spend 5 minutes doing that. He's escalating, wheels up in 30.
Smash that subscribe button.
All right. So Aaron has just revealed his pick for movie of the summer, 1993. As we go on,
I'm surprised how high this might be on my letterbox list that I've been making and organizing.
Yes,
it's not low. That way.
Okay.
The Fugitive can go to hell.
Yep. Fugitive just got passed. Or the surf.
So I take it if I did not enjoy Surf Ninjas, I should not watch Three Ninjas. Would I be correct with that?
You could probably just go on ahead and skip it.
Because like it's not
fantastic.
Like I'm not a nostalgic guy. Like so it's like I don't try to like keep my childhood's not really in mind when it comes to this kind. I know we're having way too much of a discussion here.
Oh,
but
I guess yeah.
But it like I'm not gonna say I like Three Ninjas, but it's on par for sure. But I do think it's more successful in that idea than this movie is in its idea. Plus, it's John, it's John Turtletub, so it's got that.
Yeah, I showed my kids Three Ninjas actually, and I'm remembering this because I was like, let's see what they think of that. I ain't give a shit.
It's corny as fuck. Like it doesn't work on a kid now. Like
they didn't care. They didn't care. They didn't care. So they won't be seeing Surf
kids
Ninjas.
get Avengers Infinity War now. They don't need Three Ninjas.
and they've got, if you can't get Pat Morita, you get Victor Wong and Three Ninjas. Like, so.
True.
Tremors Victor Wong.
Tremors, yeah.
Big Trouble Little China's Victor Wong.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so let's let the surf just wipe out there. Which was a hit song back in the day, but this hit songs here back in this day of 93, as we hit the Casey Kasem top 40.
Casey's biggest hits.
Here are the top 10 songs with number 1, Can't Help Falling in Love by UB40. Sitting there pretty at number 1. Number 2, Whoop.
There it is.
By Tag Team. Number 3, I'm Gonna Be 500 Miles from the Proclaimers. Number 4, Slam by Onyx. Number 5, Lately by Jodeci. And number 6, Weak by SWV. Number 7, If I Had No Loot by Tony. Number 8, Runaway Train by Soul Asylum. Entering the top 10.
Rocking out to those runaway kids. Yeah.
Call that number.
They're probably gonna die.
Their
parents are so sad.
Robert Stack probably did a story on a few of those.
Hold on, shit. Yeah. If you see any of these kids, call 1-800-876-5353. You need not leave your name.
Everyone watching the YouTube version of this could see that Scott was called a narc at every concert he went
to. Yep. Oh. So number 9, Dream Lover by Mariah Carey. And number 10, If by Janet Jackson. Yeah. So as we head on from the Surf Ninjas, we head
Which, to be fair, is better than Surf Nazis Must Die.
Yes.
All right. What that's worth.
All right. But Scott has been all about unsolved mysteries so far this week. So we will find one that's been solved in Manhattan Murder Mystery.
I mean, we could be living next door to a murderer.
Well, New York is a melting pot.
When a neighbor's wife died,
She had a heart attack. She's dead.
Carol knew it was murder.
What do you mean you snuck into his apartment? Are you nuts?
So did Ted and Marcia.
He's gotten away with murder. Our only chance is to nab him.
I'm a detective. They lowered the height requirement.
Now it's Larry who feels like murder.
Hey, Larry, relax. As you just don't panic, okay?
Manhattan Murder Mystery, rated PG. Starts Friday in select theaters.
Directed by Woody Allen, written by Woody Allen, Marshall Brickman, starring Woody Allen, Diane Keaton, Alan Alda, Angelica Houston, Jerry Adler, Lynn Cohen, Ron Rifkin, Joy Behar, Melanie Norris, Marge Redmond. You'll see an appearance by Zach Braff, Ida Turturro, and Wendell Pierce. A middle-aged couple suspects foul play when their neighbor's wife suddenly drops dead. Woody Allen made this as a throwback to the Thin Man movies, with Vertigo, Lady from Shanghai, and Double Indemnity being put upon the influence here. This is a long gestating script from him. Dates back to early drafts of Annie Hall in the 1970s, and there's bits from the original Annie Hall script tossed in here. This is one of the first. This role Keaton's playing was supposed to be Mia Farrow.
What happened?
Apparently, their relationship didn't work out. Didn't work out.
I hope they can still be friends.
They might.
Oh,
that's. We'll see. Well, she apparently there's word that she showed up to shoot this movie. Then Keaton comes on. She rewrote the part. She's uncredited, but Woody Allen said he said she's funnier than Mia, and she's funnier than me. So he let her have at it with this part to change it from what Mia had on, which I've always thought
it's not a bird either.
It's not a bird. It's just talking thing. And Mia has talent. I think like Mia has a chemistry with Alan that's only matched by Keaton when they're in movies together. Like she has her own flavor, but she brings a lot of what Diane Keaton can spar with Woody Allen in a scene together. They work really well together, and they did a fuckload of movies together. They did more than Diane.
They're like 13. Keaton's like,
but she has the cadence. Like she's able to give you what you would want out of Diane Keaton in addition to like her own talents here. So, Manhattan Murder Mystery with Mia Farrow probably still plays pretty darn good here.
Keaton knows how to go broader. That's the thing. And that's when it comes to the comedy aspect of it, where you can see the differences, but I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, like for those of you who would be interested in checking this movie out, if you are a fan of Only Murders in the Building on Hulu, kids,
then
that show clearly enjoys this movie. But Aaron, let's start with you here on Manhattan Murder Mystery. Where are you at with this one?
So I want to say I've seen like 75% of Woody Allen's films. Like I'm a fan of like his movies from all various eras, since he's been doing this since the
What's
60s.
crazy, he's back here summer of 82 at 40, had a Woody Allen movie around this time of year, or no, it was July. Now he's here in August 11 years later. So
which one's 82?
Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy.
Yeah, I was gonna say Stardust. Yeah, Midsummer. Okay, that makes sense. So like this is one I hadn't seen.
Oh really?
I hadn't seen the Murder Mystery.
Okay.
Which is bizarre to me because it feels like one that would have been up my alley to catch earlier than later. But it is one that I've certainly known about for years, because I've known about Annie Hall like being this entirely other thing for a while, where it had a murder mystery and then that was taken out of it. And it's always fascinated me as far as Woody Allen, who like we talked about like Soderbergh not being satisfied with King of the Hill. Woody Allen's a guy who's famously generally not very happy with his movies, let alone his performances in movies. But he does think of this one as one of his best movies. Like
it's
like,
top 5 of his, right?
Along with like Purple Rose of Cairo and Match Point, among others. So getting to finally see what became of this aspect of a story, a murder mystery. For one thing, I think this movie's really fun. This is a super fun movie. It's the last Keaton Woody collaboration, which is
for now.
For now, sure. Yeah, whenever
Club 3,
whenever like Iceland or someone funds another one of them,
right?
Sure. But this movie's super fun. I enjoyed the mystery a lot as far as how it's presented, because it's a movie that doesn't forget to be both a mystery or a Woody Allen movie, and the way it's able to balance those two things, I think, is very impressive, because it has the staples of a talky comedy of nebbishy New Yorkers that are doing things that is very engaging and fun. At the same time, it has a legit mystery that's very like, indebted to Hitchcock, let alone Wells, with and double it, like what it's doing with noir and stuff, that gets you intrigued as far as what's the answer here, like why are the things happening the way they are, and the fact that the movie is able to stop and go back a second to explain certain things to make sure you're keeping up. The way it does that without feeling didactic is impressive. This cast is one, because it's why wouldn't it be? This cast is wonderful. I love that whenever Alan Alda's in a Woody Allen movie, it feels like Alan Alda was born to be like the guy that's just slightly better than Woody. He's a guy that's he's like more handsome, more charming, generally like at least pseudo smarter. Like Crimes and Misdemeanors is the best example of this, because he's fucking amazing in that movie. But like here he is playing this like cad who clearly harbors feelings for Diane Keaton's character, but he can't have her. But he's openly flirting with her at all costs. But he's also like a guy that's really excited about this mystery. It's so exciting. They're like, we're really excited. There's something happening, because our lives are so like whatever right now. And Woody Allen is playing Woody Allen to a T. And I haven't. It's been a minute since I like rewatched a Woody Allen movie to get like pure like Allen being this character. So seeing him be like so worried and anxious about the idea of his wife investigating a neighbor who maybe murdered somebody is really fun to watch. And then like on top of that, they're like, let's throw in Angelica Houston, like a few others, just to like have some extra fun here. Like this movie just it moves really, it's really snappy. Thin Man is an exact reference point that works for this. Like I get it completely. I mean, they're named like Nick and Nora. I mean, so like I had a lot of fun with this movie. I was very happy I finally watched it. I'm very happy that it, cinematically, and this is a period where Woody's always experimenting a little bit, but like Shadows and Fog had come out like a couple years ago, and that's like experiment on his part. This one, I'm not gonna say it's breaking ground, but like there's a lot of like handheld stuff here, and like some choices being made camera wise that
there's Keaton when she comes out and sees the neighbor across the street and he does the zooms.
It's got some set it feels like he's just now doing like 70s paranoia stuff in his movies, and it caught me off guard,
and it feels authentic in a really interesting way.
Yeah, the finale with the mirrors and stuff does not feel like it does, and doesn't feel like Woody Allen. Like he's clearly
it's like he's really aiming he's aiming for something, it seems, as a director, to be like, I could just do this plain, or I could have the camera lingering in spots where it kind of like drifts over here to show you something and then drifts back. Like it's just it was neat to see. I didn't expect that aspect of this movie. So
like, he thought this one out. Like when you watch his movies, there's a relaxed feeling about them. Like I'm sure he obsesses and thinks about angles and all sorts of things like that, but this is the one where it feels most obvious that he really paid attention to some craft here, and you're like you notice it a lot more,
because it's like it's a slapstick like it's not like Purple Rose of Cairo is such high concept, or Sleeper, even like there's stuff there where it's not surprising to see choices being made as a director that like the concept going on. This is like this could have been just a slapstick like farce that didn't require a kind of extra technical edge, and yet it is here, so that I think it stands out in that for that reason.
Scott?
Big fan.
No,
it's funny. I thought I
Manhattan
had seen
Murder
this.
Mystery. Big fan is summer of 20.
It's like 06 maybe with Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, it's summer of 06. Anyway.
It's funny. I had not seen this before. I thought I had, but then I realized I was thinking of Small Time Crooks, which would come out 7 years later.
I like
and this
that
is
one
another.
too.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of fun. And those are both, I would argue, examples of more explicitly commercial Woody Allen pictures in terms of, without getting into the discourse for a second, if you want to show a Woody Allen film to somebody that maybe isn't a Woody Allen fan, this film is very welcoming and inviting and user friendly in terms of it being both a prototypical Woody Allen comedy while also being a pretty well made murder mystery. And you guys have already talked about this. There's a scene where she's sneaking around his apartment in the end of first act, beginning of second act, where it feels like a 90s thriller. I mean, the way it's shot, the way it's composed, the way she turns around, her hair whooshes, and it's like, is this Sliver all of a sudden? But good. And I think the film was very much supposed to be, it was supposed to remind you of Annie Hall. It's sort of a throwback to before the Woody Allen serious movies almost overpowered and overwhelmed the pure romps, because this one is a pure romp, and that's not even an insult because it's very good. But I think even then it was sort of seen as, just a jolly farce. But I think I'm shocked at how well it works as a mystery. And without going into details, because I think people should watch this film if they haven't seen it, the solution is actually very clever.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right about Alan Arkin. He always just comes up, Woody plus sort of. All the shit. Sorry. But so yeah, not having seen this picture, but knowing about it and knowing what it was trying to do back, 30 years ago, I had a good time with this one. And it is fun watching, because you're right, even though, it's been 30 years, Jesus, even then, he wasn't playing that Woody persona all that often. Mm-hmm. Either he was directing films that he was not featured in, or he was starring in some somewhat more serious pictures. And this would be just a year before Bullets Over Broadway, which was yes.
I was gonna say, because he's like, here he gets to be married with Keaton for a change, as opposed to
yes,
like
this is the only film they're married in when they're in a film together. Yeah.
And even the other films before that, they're it's him where he's usually in some kind of romantic predicament where he's just divorced somebody or he's chasing after somebody, generally Mia Farrow or whatnot. Like, here's a version where he's comfortable in life at this point, which is rare for Woody, I would say.
Well, we're also dropping in the 90s, which is the point where he starts stepping out of his pictures, but there's a plant in there that's basically him, like Cusack, Broadway's Branagh, and Celebrity,
Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, there's
and because I mean he's outgrowing the prototypical Woody Allen character, but because this story is about an older married couple, it works. You can have your cake and eat it too. And so in that sense, I had a really good time with this one.
Yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite Woody Allen movies. If I put in a list, I don't top 5, maybe top 5 to 10 or something like around there. I think this is like a lot of fun. Like I said, the craziest thing is that the mystery really works and the solution work. Like everything, it didn't have to. It's a comedy. It can get away with stuff, but the fact that it works, it's intriguing. All it needs to be is something for like these witty dialogue exchanges to happen. But in addition to that, we're treated to very suspenseful scenes, which I think comedy films don't get credit for how well they pull off suspense a lot of the times too. It's one of the genres that you don't think of having suspense, but they do in many different ways, traditional ways, their own kind of laughing ways. But this one's got it. Poking their nose into nobody's business. They should just let, murder, whatever. But Diane Keaton's, they're kind of, I guess this is a thing for like trying to find the fire in your marriage again. And she's using that murder mystery to do it. Well, Alan Alda's like, oh yeah, he's all into it. So like, well, maybe I should, they both have a point where they're like, should I leave my spouse? Because of this stupid mystery. There's a great scene I love where they're at some diner place, just having a beer together and talking about stuff. That's really great. Angelica Houston is just like dynamite in this. She's like this, the movie goes to a certain point and it needs this new energy, and she comes in and just is pow, perfect there with it. She's just having a blast here. And it's like, it's just movie is just adults having fun making a movie for adults. And it's like a grounded mystery with everything, but it's not everything to this movie. There, you can, even if you're not into the mystery, it's funny. Like I love like lines in here, like the the neighbor, when it opens up with the neighbor, he wants to go watch a Bob Hope movie on TV, but they get dragged to the neighbor's apartment for drinks or whatever. And apparently the neighbor guy is a big stamps collector, and he's as they're getting ready for bed, he's like, "Oh yeah, if I had to look at more of that postage or the stamps collection," he's like, my favorite thing in life is to look at canceled postage. I was like, yeah, it's great. I always love his perspective at stuff like that.
There's a lot of good, like, this is a good film lovers movie as far as showing off what films he likes beyond just Bergman stuff. Like,
right, yeah.
It's a good reverence for like movies in general, or at least like from an older, from a noir era, from a 40s era, from a 30s era, that like I think sticks out. Any movie that ends with a glass hall mirror scene, I'm just thinking,
right,
hi, and then this movie does that over time this time around. Also, I mean, we've talked about it's funny, but it is really funny. This movie,
really funny.
There's a bit late in the. Granted, I have not seen this movie. You've seen it. I haven't seen this.
I've been watching this for years.
I haven't even seen clips from this movie. So I get to a point late in the movie. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but like, there's a sequence where people have to like play tapes over a phone, and there's things Woody Allen does that are so funny, that is so his speed as far as the kind of physical humor he can bring to a scene like that. It's right out of like Annie Hall, where
it's like the cocaine scene.
He blows the cocaine all over the place. But there's like one cutback where his hands are in the air and he's still. It's just like this is so good. It's
like,
so.
How could you do? God damn it! Like
when did it escalate to this level?
Like we can't take you anywhere. And he's got they're walking. This is where they're having trouble about the marriage or whatever. And she's like, I think we need to she's like, I think we need to reevaluate our lives. He goes, I have reevaluated our lives. I got a 10, you got a 6.
There's a lot of good.
So,
that scene where like she's trying to sneak out and he's like, I command you to stay. I exert authority. It's like.
Yeah, they just what they do to try to set up the character, their suspect, the links they go through with that, having the audition record. Oh my gosh, it's a right to think about, but it's like, and when you think about stuff, I'm like, well, nobody realizes they're doing this, so like the fact that they feel like they have to be all sneaky and like, we're gonna get caught when no one cares, or like, like no one really realizes. It's kind of a step back kind of humor, but it's funny, and it's such a small scale movie that delivers so big on everything. I can't. I've always really liked this one a lot, because when I first got into like Woody Allen films, like it was like him and Keaton. I had to see all those. Those were the ones like, oh, that's just Annie Hall. It's amazing, dynamite. Let's see all the Keaton Allen pairings, and this is one of the best, I would think. Definitely up there. But I've always been a long time big fan of Manhattan Murder Mystery, which he did a 2-picture deal,
TriStar
with Husbands and Wives and this, and then he bolted from that one, and then made the rest of his 90s movies elsewhere. But yeah,
and it's worth. For what it's worth noting, this was already a period where Woody Allen was starting to be somewhat overshadowed by the real life off-screen allegations and or scandal, to the point where if you watch the Siskel and Ebert episode about this, they're talking about how it's almost a welcome distraction to watch a Woody Allen movie like this that doesn't feel in any way, shape, or form influenced by what's going on off-screen. And whether that was intentional or not, this does feel very much like the first Woody Allen movie in a while that just feels completely divorced from his off-screen persona, both as a filmmaker and whatever else was going on.
Yeah.
But it's also a reminder that this discourse has been around for 35 years.
Part of him making this movie was he wanted a chance to kind of relax and do something different beyond deal with like courtroom battles and whatnot. And you can,
I wouldn't be surprised if Keaton was here and there to help him relax, maybe ease off stuff, and probably she's a director herself. She probably helped out with a lot of this stuff on this one. So
that's a lot of people that have been in the industry that just like know what they're doing, right? So it's like we got the script.
No, it's a good stuff. I like Alda's no slouch. Like the Jellica Houston. Yeah, she's Hollywood royalty there. So
Yeah.
yeah, get a lot of it. It's a fun movie. Like I definitely recommend. For sure. But someone else who's a big Woody Allen fan is Yancey Burns. So before we talk about Yancey Butler, we're going to talk about Yancey Burns and his tales from the video store.
Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain is now on video. It's the battle of the century. The Three Ninjas versus the forces of evil. And the winner is Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain. Now on video. Rated PG.
Another story from this Blockbuster that I was at was a friend and I who were like purveyors of Mystery Science Theater 3000 and those type of movies went in one night to rent Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain with Hulk Hogan.
I always wanted to see that.
And we were watching Ed Wood films, and we hadn't seen Orgy of the Dead yet. And this was like,
yeah, I did that.
Blockbuster carried Orgy of the Dead.
Yep.
So we went up to the counter. It was Saturday night, early evening, and it's crowded a Blockbuster, and we're in line, big line, families, everything. My friend's checking us out because we don't have to pay when he checks us out. And he's like, all right, so Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain is due back on Tuesday, and Orgy of the Dead is due back on Friday. And we're like, oh my God. And Ed walk up. But he played it well. He played it well. That's there. Fun. All right. Now it is time for the big release this weekend. Hard Target.
Critics are calling Hard Target 100% action. A rocket-powered roller coaster. A supercharged blast of fireworks. With breathtaking, amazing stunts.
How's it feel to be hunted? You tell me.
Legendary director John Woo is a movie magician, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is the #1 action hero in movies today.
He's obviously not someone we should underestimate.
Hard Target, rated R. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
Directed by John Woo. All right.
You've been saving that one for a while.
Written by Chuck Farrar and starring Jean-Claude Van Damme
as Cajun Man.
Lance Henriksen, Lance Henriksen in his second action movie villain turn this summer. Yancey Butler, Chuck Farrar, Robert Apisa, Arnold Vosloo, Douglas Rye, Mike Leinert, Willie C. Carpenter, and I forgot the most important person on here.
Big Billy Summer.
Big Billy Summer. Wilford Brimley.
What?
Or no, who is it? Yeah.
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 They're like trying to do like an audio cue or something. Like you built it up so much.
Yeah. Sorry. I was like, wait, yeah, that's Wilford Brimley. Sorry.
Oh, right.
What's the other Henriksen movie?
Huh?
What's the other Henriksen movie? What am I not thinking
of? Excessive Force.
Oh, of course. Of course. One of the top movies.
Yes. All right. So a woman hires a drifter as her guide through New Orleans in search of her missing father. In the process, they discover a deadly game of cat and mouse behind his disappearance. All right. So, this is John Woo's American debut following Hard Boiled. And this is Van Damme on his rise. This was supposed to be a Kurt Russell movie. They didn't want to wait on him. And famously, Sam Raimi is on set for this because they were like, things don't work with John Woo. We're firing him and you're taking over. So that's pretty much what was here. So Van Damme,
he's a fan of John Woo, and
yes, everybody here is. Lee Henriksen, Vosloo, they're all like, "Oh, we're gonna work with John Woo."
But like Sam Raimi is such a he's a nice guy. He's a guy that's like, he's not gonna be there like, okay, I guess I'm in the house, guys.
Well, I bet Sam Raimi did it because he's like, I'm not gonna fire him, and I want to make sure they don't. I don't want to pass on this, and then they hire some guy that does fire him because
it's such an awkward thing to tell somebody. It's like, you watch this man and make sure he's like, what, me? Like, okay, do you know me? Like everything I've read in the interviews and like and saw on the new Blu-ray, it's like Sam Raimi just did nothing but like just make it safe for Wu to do what he wanted, like because he's a mensch. So
yeah. So this is top tier peak era Van Damme. He also had Nowhere to Run this year. So what are you guys fans of Van Damme at all? You watched the
more
movie,
appreciative than I was as a kid.
He was like the edgy cool. If you wanted to be like a hipster in the action movies back then, you were like, oh yeah, I like Van Damme. Like the Arnold and Stallone, what it was like, but Van Damme, he's the man. But this probably his best. I would say like this one, Time Cop, like Bloodsport, Lionheart,
Sudden Impact.
Sudden Impact. Yeah, well, Sudden Impact, I like as a hoot. That's a fun movie.
Rocks. I mean, what about?
Yeah. But Double Impact, you get two Van Dammes. He was like Schwarzenegger. He liked putting multiple Van Dammes in his movies. But I would say this sits as one of his best here.
It's no It's no knockoff with Rob Schneider from Surfing Ninjas.
Right.
They can't all be Maximum Risk.
They can't all be Double Team with Dennis Rodman and Mickey Rourke.
I saw Maximum Risk opening weekend at the theater
With Natasha Henstridge.
Yep, I was a Van Damme fan, and I was there for Street Fighter. Yeah, I was there for everything. So Scott,
he directed
with Roger Moore. Yeah, did not see Legionnaire though. So Scott, Hard Target.
I enjoyed it. I didn't actually see this one until probably 3 or 4 years ago because I always heard that the R-rated cut was so compromised. I figured I'd wait to some far off time when the hardcore, unrated, super duper gore-filled version would be available on DVD, and probably during lockdown because whatever, I ended up just finding it on like Tubi or something and just watching the damn film, and I enjoyed it. Again, I think, certainly I'm an adult now, so I'm more appreciative of what Van Damme was bringing to the scene than I was when I was a kid, where in that stupid kid way, I arbitrarily decided that I did not like him as a young teen, and then just sort of viewed him with a certain dismissive whatever, and I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. I still saw several of his films. I saw Street Fighter, I saw Time Cop, but I certainly did not give him the credit he deserved at the time for being the guy to bring a lot of these promising Asian filmmakers into Hollywood to give them a shot at the title. John Woo, Ringo Lam, et cetera, and that was something that he was doing that I think a lot of his compatriots were not, for whatever reason. As for this film, yeah, it's very John Woo. It's an American Western. It feels very stylized. But it's also fun, and it's a little too short almost. But again, I don't know how much was cut out of for the R-rated version. Van Damme is as studly in this as he probably is at any point in his young career, because again, Wu knows how to, make them look like, golden gods. That's something he's very good at. Same with Yancy Butler, who's just a knockout in this picture. This was her first major movie. She followed up with this with, I think, Drop Zone and a couple other things. And then she was in Witchblade.
Yep.
Was she in the Blade TV show?
No.
Or am I wrong? I'm thinking of something else. I apologize. But yeah, it's you can see this is Wu on a budget, comparatively speaking.
Right.
Because the settings are very rural America, and the action scenes are somewhat contained in terms of street level fisticuffs and what have you. But it's incredibly entertaining, and the two villains are just delightfully enjoyable just to watch them. Henriksen and Vuzlu just hamming it up. It's like they're the most entertaining part of the film, whether someone's being kicked or shot or not.
Well, Scott, this longer version that you were holding out for included a lot more Lance Henriksen to it, and the legend has it, Van Damme and his own editor, it was like a little over 2 hours. They went and cut.
Did he pull a Kevin Costner?
Yeah, they cut the film down to what we have now, and stating people are paying to see a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, not a Lance Henriksen movie.
You know what? I was right to dislike that guy in the 90s. I take all that back. Fuck that shithead.
But that's what legend has it. Is why we have the shorter cut.
That wouldn't surprise. I mean, I don't. Not knowing, like whatever. That wouldn't surprise me. Both knowing his off-screen reputation at the time, and the fact that the two of them are just so completely entertaining together that I imagine he would be concerned that they would overshadow him in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's obviously it's not my favorite John Woo film or anything like that, but for an American debut and watching him bring his very specific sensibilities into a very distinctly American rural Western, I think it's very entertaining. It's a lot of fun. And I think it sort of goes a little silly by the end when Wilford Brimley shows up and he gets turned into an action figure.
Yeah.
Or like it looks better.
I mean,
but
the film doesn't need that kind of comedy in it.
So you like Surf Ninjas better than Hard Target?
What was that?
So you like Surf Ninjas better than Hard Target?
I wouldn't go that far.
All right.
But no, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
All right. Aaron?
Yeah, in regards to your initial question as far as Van Damme goes, like he's not one of my guys as far as the action figures of that period, like, and you can see the difference. As far
you like him better than Seagal though, right?
I do. I generally no, because you have your ranking or you like your for these things, and like Arnold was my guy growing up, and like Stallone was like in the realm, like I hadn't seen Rockies at that point, like, or at least all of them. But like I was growing up with T2 and Predator, so it's like Arnold's my guy.
Well, there's Stallone, Arnold, Bruce Willis, and then there's the next tier, which is Van Damme, Seagal. I wouldn't even put Lundgren with them. I'm not putting Lundgren. I'm not putting
North. And then next you've got like Faye and Lundgren and the direct-to-video crew.
Yeah. So regardless, Van Damme is like, he skirts the edge because he's in some stuff that like appeals to me as far as like, yeah, Sudden Impact, which is like Die Hard, or Street Fighter, just a game I played. So it's like, okay, they're, doing martial arts movies, cool, whatever. What I do appreciate about him, like you were just saying, Scott, as far, and Brandon, like, he was bringing in directors that, international directors where the emphasis there is stories, whatever. These are action movies. Who cares? Let's focus on these stars and show them looking as cool as fucking possible. And that's what you get with Van Damme movies generally. Like, the stories are whatever, except for like Time Cop, which weirdly has the most story. But what you do get in all of these films is Van Damme looking as cool as possible. Like, that's a thing that international directors would emphasize more, right? Because you're not, it's like stories, whatever. So that's this movie of Hard Target. You get a really good looking movie on the scale that it's at. I, similar to Scott, had not seen this until the pandemic. Like, I never watched it, mainly because it was always that other John Woo American movie that like was less successful than the other ones I had grown up watching, Broken Arrow, Face Off. So like I just never got around to watching Hard Target. And yeah, I similarly also heard that it's a movie that was like, cut up and what have you, which I think is overstated as far as the result is still a competent movie that looks like something that makes sense. So it's like, I don't know what, I'm sure there's some version out there that just like they, talk about how Mission Impossible 2 has a 3-hour version. It's like, yeah, but what are we really adding?
It's funny. Like, I don't think there's like these missing gigantic action sequences that we just lost out on. That's the thing.
Exactly. It's like, if that's not the stuff you cut out of these movies,
right? Yeah.
There's not a
For the record, I think the 3-hour cut of Mission Impossible 2 is an urban legend. I've never actually believed that it existed.
It could be a work print, though.
Work print, fine. They're all 3 hours when they're.
Oh, because that movie does have plot holes, and it's stuff that I can imagine. It does, but I imagine that stuff where like shoe leather stuff can like fit in lines of dialogue or scenes of a character walking into a building just to justify it, whatever. It doesn't matter. This movie, I picked up until later. When I finally see it, like, I get it. Like, I'm not gonna espouse a bunch of praise on it because I think it's fine, but I do like the stuff that really feels like Woo, which is the ample amounts of slow motion, the fact that doves and whatever other birds are able to be available are available, having very, very defined characterizations of the people we're supposed to be following. So with Van Damme, of course, with Yancey Butler, and especially with, Lance Henriksen and Arnold Vosloo, who's great in this. And it's not a surprise that he would become the Mummy because he's such a striking villain figure as far as what he's doing here. it makes me wonder why they're like, he should be the hero in our Darkman sequels. But
wait a minute.
but I do think the movie it works better than it doesn't on the whole. It's weird that there's a plot about, the most dangerous game, and Van Damme doesn't end up being in that. He just is on the side of it. It's such a weird idea. But then,
it's building up for him to be dropped into the
game. Of the game, and then he's not. And it's like, what? But Ice-T would prove him wrong in surviving the game like a year later. So, it works. A movie we all like.
Spoiler in that title.
Yeah. But it has I've heard this before, and I think I talked about this on our Face Off commentary on Out Now, that while I think Face Off is his best American film, I've heard the argument being that Hard Target was when he started being the most John Woo and got progressively less and less John Woo. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I can see what one would be saying if you're saying Hard Target feels the most like a traditional John Woo movie, because it's coming right off of Hard Boiled. The finale of this movie, it feels just like the big garage fight in Hard Boiled. It's very much in line with what he had been doing in the realm of gun fu action movies at that point. I just think he got better doing American films over time. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to sit here and say Broken Arrow is an American masterpiece, but I do think it's a step up for reasons, mainly because of the hamminess of some of his performances. And then Face Off is obviously, next level. But this movie,
one of the greatest movies ever made,
obviously, and one of your favorite Nick Cage performance. So this movie, it does what it does get by on, aside from the John Woo-isms of it, big, double guns, reloading when the scene decides it's okay to do so, what have you, explosions, what have you. I do think there's a quirk factor in here that works as well, and that's partially because of the villains, and partially because I can tell Van Damme is trying. I think he's at a stage in his life where he would admit that he's not the best actor. I don't think he necessarily realized that then, but you can tell he's really putting in the work to be like, I want to make this Cajun accent a thing. I want to wear a mullet and be believable as a drifter, the most well-dressed drifter there is, but a damn drifter, damn it. And he wants to make that level of style off of him, yet still factor into the drama he's facing of a guy that needs to get work. There's something about it that's endearing to me for Jean-Claude Van Damme that I appreciated watching it for my second time for this podcast.
Well, there's one thing I will slightly add is that one thing I like about Van Damme in retrospect is that he used his time in the direct-to-video marketplace to become a better actor.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say he's fantastic, but he's become a much more authentic and credible and interesting screen presence in a lot of the 2000s era movies that he was making.
It's not unheard of for any actor, regardless of your age. You just
get old enough and you have gravitas or whatever.
Mm-hmm. But by the time he makes what's the one where he stars as himself?
A Replicant.
JCVD.
Oh, sorry, fuck.
By the time
he did a lot of movies with twins, in my defense.
He does have an abnormal amount of twins movies compared to Jackie Chan and all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does one, it seems, except Stallone.
Yeah.
Stallone hasn't done a clone movie yet.
Yeah.
Has he? No, he hasn't. Think about that for a second.
Kind of sort of Samaritan, but not really.
Oh, damn it. but yeah, JCVD is a great, that's where he's really introspective, and you can tell that he's, put on the age and is reflective about himself or whatnot. It's interesting. Where this though, he's not necessarily good, but his screen presence is very, you can tell this early 90s period is pure screen energy. You can see why he's able to get movies still into theaters at this point in his career.
Yeah, it's funny because critics weren't fond of this one, but they pointed out Wu and Henriksen, but about Van Damme, one of the reviews started out, when Van Damme isn't busy duking it out with the English language. Jesus Christ.
That's mean.
It's really mean.
But I think
it's not, and frankly, it's not true. I think he's perfectly credible as a guy who isn't from here.
There's a couple bad line reads, but it's a fucking action movie that
it's a movie this.
Yeah.
The rest of the cast is not like Yancey Butler's lines are amazing in this movie either.
There was always a charm with that, and Arnold and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't give a shit. You know, like that's
And
fine.
are they going to explain the accent on this one? Or are they just going to let that one slide?
I always with a
I am a Canadian firefighter or something or whatever.
With a Van Damme movie, I always look at him like, what's his name going to be in this one? What's his name going to be?
And
this one is Chance Boudreaux.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Chance Boudreaux is a pretty
Chance
good.
Boudreaux. So I always look, because I know every script that comes by, it's coming by Seagal. It's coming, it's already been passed on by Willis, Stallone, and Schwarzenegger. It's gone by the desk of Seagal or Van Damme, and like when one of them picks it, like Van Damme picks it, like, well, we got to give him like a Cajun last name now. So if it goes from like Shooter Johnson to like Shooter Boudreaux or something, like they always try to do that. I think the MVP of this film, though, is John Woo. Without him, this is just another static action movie.
Yeah,
he is the one who makes it more interesting. He seems to dive into themes and spell them out visually a lot of the way. The action scenes are really, everybody looks awesome in this movie when they're doing action. There's the Van Damme, the notable scene where he like balances himself on top of the moving motorcycle to shoot down. It's fucking awesome. Great use of slow motion. Effectively, it really enhances and shows off Van Damme's athleticism with the slow motion. Because the one thing Van Damme did,
I love what
the others
shows
did
his leg like he's revealing a shotgun.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm armed, and it's his leg.
But that's the thing with Van Damme had over him. He had the kick. And he was cooler than Chuck Norris, and because Chuck Norris kicked people, but come on, like he could kick, like he jump kicked and shit. It was awesome. There's like so many cool moves, and he does still like for the Americanization of like international directors when they come to do an American film. This feels like he was allowed to do his shit. Like it feels very uncompromised. Like the compromising of this film apparently came in the editing room, but John Woo shooting it and the action, the way the action scenes cut, very much feel like this is what Woo could have. And
he worked with a team that knew his movies, that were fans of him.
Yeah,
like it helps. Like,
and this is in the Van Damme catalog. This argues to be number one, and bigger cut or not, I've always liked this movie fine. This is like, this is like those movies where, there's this legendary cut of this film that you want to see that's better or it was compromised, but you always still like the theatrical cut anyway. That's why you were interested in the bigger cut, is because you like that. Well, like that movie Nightbreed, that Clive Barker one that I like. The longer version is much better, but like I always liked the theatrical one anyway to begin with. It wasn't like I hated that. It was like I wanted more. Superman 2. Yeah, I like Superman 2 anyway.
Did Scott actually freeze?
I think Scott froze.
Not one of those patented fakes.
Yes, Scott, you were saying? We missed what you said.
Oh, no, I was joking. I was saying I waited to see the proper cut of Nightbreed, and I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. This one, like Yancey Butler's great here to, what she does for Van Damme here is like what Diana Rigg does for George Lazenby on Her Majesty's Secret Service. She like makes him better with scenes she's in. Good characterization. They're not afraid to get her bloody as well. And Wilford Brimley is the kick factor. Yeah, she gets slapped around quite a bit. Henriksen's great. Vosloo's great. That's highlighting the stuff here. But they're excited to be doing action stuff in a Woo movie. That's the kind of thing. I like the end scene being set in the carnival. Lots of cool stuff here. This is a fun, cool action movie. Some of the it's not the best the 90s has to offer, but it's of one of the more interesting ones that the 90s has to offer in the action movie department. Like it's a cool movie.
I like that Van Damme does a lot of shoot a guy, kick the guy, and then shoot the guy again moves.
Yes.
It's efficient.
It's efficient.
I like how vivid a lot of the supporting characters are in this. I mean, even Cassie Lemons is just really well sketched. An interestingly sympathetic cop.
Yeah.
And frankly, some of the victims in this film are given a lot of flesh and blood sentimentality, so it stings when they get killed.
Yeah, and she gets in this sequence, the alleyway action sequence where she was almost like she gets shot at, and it's like really intense because you give a shit about her, and then Van Damme gets to do the woo dive, shooting in that moment. But that's a really cool sequence. Like they're well paced, and varied action sequences too throughout this. Yeah. I mean, this movie is so good. They made Hard Target 2 like 20 years later,
which we all like, obviously,
with Scott Adkins. Which
I've not seen it.
You didn't see it? Did you see it, Aaron? I did. Apparently, I did a review for the Blu-ray of it.
You remember it fondly.
It's got Rhoda Mitra in it, so that might have been why I requested it. But it's got Scott Adkins as the lead. I couldn't tell you a thing. I'm looking at my review for it right now. I gave it 2.5.
Who's the villain?
Robert
Knepper. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Tamara Morrison's in it. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically
like a remake.
It's a Most Dangerous Game type thing again. So you can
doing the same thing. Yeah.
Eraser Reborn.
Oh, I gave it such high.
It's the same fucking movie.
Such high praise as the movie just sort of is what it is. Is it great? Nah. Is it great for its genre? Still nah. But it entertains and the premise is good enough.
The realm of those, like Sudden Impact 2 is not bad with Michael Jai White. That one does better as far as being a basically.
Well, that's like Welcome to Sudden Impact.
Welcome to Sudden Death.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Who said okay?
It's a better. It's one of the better. We're using the IP to do the same plot again, but with a different actor.
Yeah. I mean, look,
Michael J. White's good.
I like Scott Adkins. It's no secret that I do, but Michael J. White is just pure charisma in a way that he's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The DTV Kings right there. But yeah, so Scott, how did Hard Target fare at the box office? Was it a hard weekend for it at the box office?
Hold on, I have way too many boxes open. Hold on a second. Sorry.
I'll tell you what, it wasn't the audience's #1 target for the weekend.
The Fugitive was #1 again with $18 million, dropping just 19% in its third weekend for a 17-day total of $89 million. Hard Target was #2 with $10 million in its opening weekend. It would eventually earn $31 million domestic, and there's no worldwide here, so let me see if I can find that. 75 million worldwide on a $20 million budget. So that was actually a really solid hit. It's probably one of the bigger ones for Van Damme, but just by default.
But that's why it only took 13 years for a sequel.
Exactly. And then The Secret Garden in third. All three of the top 3 films are Warner Brothers movies.
Wow.
Shit. And they've got Free Willy in #7. I'm sorry, what was that?
Take that, Disney.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So wait a minute, that's not right. I watched Hard Target. There's a Universal logo at the beginning, wasn't there?
Yes, it is Universal.
Yeah, it's Universal.
I will assume that's a mistake.
So they have
anyway,
two of the top 3.
Yes. Yeah. Curse you, the numbers. I trusted you. If I wanted to go to a crap site filled with arrows, I go to Box Office Mojo.
Was it distributed overseas by Warner Brothers?
Quite possibly. Hard Target, Secret Garden, 4.3 million, dropping just 7% in its second weekend in 1,332 screens for a $12.4 million 10-day total. Rising Sun, 4 million, minus 34%, 48 million. Yeah, it is. It was a solid hit.
Yeah.
It was sort of the adult film of the moment. The Fugitive, I guess, by default. But
everyone's going home being like, you got to see Rise. Sean Connery speaking Japanese. It's crazy.
Okay, so next weekend, let's not go see The Fugitive for the 4th time. Let's go see Rising Sun finally.
We should do that. You're the man now, dog.
Excuse me. Jurassic Park. In 5th place, dropping a whopping 13%, 3.76 million in its 11th weekend, crossing the 300 million mark for a $306 million total as it winds up weekend 11. What was that?
In the Line of Fire.
In the line
of Fire.
of Fire.
$3.4 million, minus 23%. The Clint Eastwood starring In the Line of Fire had earned $89.6 million at the end of its 7th weekend in theaters. Free Willy still sticking around, earning another $3.1 million, minus 23% in 1,700 theaters.
Holding like the River Jordan.
Exactly. End of weekend 6, $59 million total. Hearts and Souls would drop a harsh, by these standards, 35% in weekend 2 for a $2.8 million weekend and a 9.4 total.
It's a good hold nowadays.
Yeah, yes, it is. And honestly, part of it's just because it didn't open very well. So, the hold doesn't mean much. And, if you look at the top 10, everything's got good holds because that's how the business worked those days. The Firm, weekend 8, $2.6 million for a
2 Brimleys in the top 10. Oh man.
Yes, 2 Brimleys and 2 Tobin Bells.
2 Tobin Bells.
2 Tobins. Tobin and Brimley.
And a Woody and a Pear Tree.
Yes. For $144 million after 8 weekends in theaters. Sleepless in Seattle rounding out the top 10 with $2.5 million. For $106 million total after 9 weekends. At 11th place, you have Manhattan Murder Mystery, which would open with $2 million in 268 theaters for a pretty decent $7,520 per screen average. It would eventually, lug out to around 11.3. It was not a hit, believe it or not, because it cost about, I think, $13 million to make, give or take. Although I'm assuming it made money over the long run with, video and HBO and all that fun stuff.
How long till Sony buys TriStar?
I'm sorry?
How long till Sony buys TriStar? Where you at?
Let me look that up. That's a good question.
Maybe they don't have the money for marketing it. Maybe they're falling off at this point.
Sorry, now I'm actually curious because I should know that and I don't. 1989. So no, that's.
Oh, so they're just starting out with it, huh?
Yeah.
And that look who's talking money.
And then that's it for the top 16 of note. What were the other 2 movies we were talking about here?
What's Unforgiven doing, Scott? Did it make $10?
It's out of the top 15 finally.
Oh.
Only took almost a year. Surf Ninjas would open with, I don't know why it's not on the list, but it would earn, that's why it's not on the list. It would earn total $4.9 million. And there is no weekend numbers, at least not on Box Office Mojo, listed for this picture. Let me see what I can find, because that's curious.
Wow.
$2 million on its opening weekend. And it would drop by 63% in weekend 2, next weekend, for a $742,000 total. It would clap out at $4.9 million. And King of the Hill, I'm sure, made like $10.
Yeah, it opened a few weeks back, so it wouldn't be on the schedule. Yeah, it wasn't on many
$465,000.
Yeah, it wasn't on many screens.
That's not great, Bob.
Yeah. Soderbergh is finished.
Yeah. It would make $1.2 million on an $8 million budget. Which again, he wasn't a bankable name to the extent that he needed to be until the late 90s, early 2000s, if that. That's the end.
Even then. It's not really till he wins an Oscar, but it's not till like Oceans that he's like.
Well, yeah,
but Oceans
I do think he was
guys, the new Soderbergh movie's coming out. It's every fucking guy in Hollywood.
Yes.
Well, yeah. That's what I meant. The success of those is really what propels. Yeah.
But yeah, it's and to be fair, he makes the Oceans movies, and by 2006, he's making highly experimental digital VOD first Magnolia Pictures like Bubble. So it's not like he spends much time.
In between Oceans, he's like, let me partner with James Cameron to make a remake of Solaris that will cost a bunch and make nothing.
Yes.
Or let me go.
That might be what was the end of his quote unquote mainstream career to a certain extent.
Yeah. Let me get Clooney to be in a throwback to 1940s noir in a black and white that's made to like it would have been made then, but add more swears to it and not do any advertising to make it get off the ground.
I remember The Good German.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck Full Frontal is, but
but yeah, Bubble is actually quite good.
Yeah, Bubble's really good.
I'm actually a fan of that one.
Yep. Yeah, we had to work on the DVD for that back in the day, Scott, and I watched it a couple
we
times.
did.
I was like, man, this is good. Because that was the idea for him there was just to pick a small town and then like cast Joe Schmoes to do it, and it works.
He did that a lot. Joe Schmoes, like, you know, what's her name? Gina Carano or whatever.
Gina Carano?
Whatever. And that one's interesting because you have all these world-class actors acting around her for obvious reasons.
And Soderbergh editing around her, yeah.
Yes.
I like Haywire a lot more. I like Haywire a lot more than
No,
you
it's so good. No, it's
not
it's
you.
very entertaining. No, I think it's a good, fun, interesting movie, and I think in a skewed way that's almost part of its charm, because there's no other movie like it, I would argue, in terms of feeling like a cheap, lo-fi, direct-to-DVD action film, but with spectacular fight scenes and a world-class cast surrounding, you know, someone who, all due respect, can't act worth a damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Fassbender never died better on screen than he did in Haywire.
This is true.
True. All right. Well, I like how we have bookended this with Soderbergh. That's how it goes. But that'll do it here for August 20 through 22 of 1993. Scott and Aaron, we're getting there. So before we sign out, Scott, where can people find you?
I'm at therap.com, and I'm at Scott Mendelson on Twitter.
All right. And Aaron, you're in more places.
I am in We Live Entertainment for movie reviews, Wise to Blue for Blu-ray and Criterion reviews. I host a podcast with my friend Abe called Out Now, Aaron and Abe. We talk about weekly movie releases. And I am on Twitter at AaronsPS4.
All right. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD. We're in work at wiseofblue.com. Next week, the penultimate week, we have a 5-film feast for Is Only the Strong Man Without a Face Seeks Needful Things Called Love. All that and more as the summer of 93 at 30 all continues toward the end.
It's the summer of 93 at 30.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. The Summer of and News Themes by Press Maxon. Additional information on this and other episodes at thebrandonpetershow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at thebrandonpetershow.com. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.